Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We are playing tonight The Devil's Orchard, which is a penny dreadful. The system we'll be using is Vaesen, but we are very much playing in the world of Penny Dreadful, the TV show. We will begin this little session. We are in London in 1838. Now, we're going to do a little bit of a flashback, a few years before our story actually really begins. At this point, Sherlock Holmes is still alive. Jack the Ripper has not begun his reign of terror yet. And so London is quiet, sleepy, unaware of the darkness that lays ahead for it in just a few months from now. Imagine yourself strolling down a Gothic Victorian London street. The air is thick with a mysterious blend of fog, coal smoke, and the distant echoes of horse-drawn carriages. Cobblestone pathways beneath your feet echo the eerie footsteps of passerbys. As you amble along, the flickering gas lamps cast long dancing shadows on the aged bricked walls that flank the narrow thoroughfare. The buildings, adorned with intricate wrought iron balconies and grimacing gargoyles, seem to lean in with whispered secrets. The distant sound of a violin wafts through the air, playing a haunting melody that adds to the overall ambiance. You catch a glimpse of cloaked figures and bowler-hatted gentlemen moving in and out of the dimly lit shops that line the street, their faces half shrouded in the shadows. Turning a corner, you find yourself near a murky canal. The water reflects the dim glow of the gas lamps, creating a shimmering, distorted mirror of the gloomy surroundings. A solitary barge, laden with crates and covered in tattered canvas, drifts lazily along the water, a few men in flat caps with suspicious eyes and rough faces keeping watch. This is where you find yourself one night, Eliza, standing by the dirty water of the canal, by now immune to its stench. What would the men on the boat see as they pass you by in the night?
They would see a young, slender woman, and she's wearing a long white dress with a high collar, and she's leaned up against the bridge looking into the water with a coin in her hand. She's pretty, but the dirt of the city sticks to her and muddies her white dress. There's something innocent about her, almost. But if you were to get closer and speak to her, you would know that that innocence is long gone. Oh my goodness.
What's going through your head as you're clutching this coin and looking at it, and it catches a little bit of that dim moonlight and sort of reflects a little bit of its silvery sheen in your eye? What's going through your mind?
The hard work that went into making just that single coin, and what I should put it towards. Do I help one of my fellow sisters on the street? Lord knows we all need help. Or do I keep it for myself? Do I take some lessons and get myself out of this life, move up in the world?
Nearby, in an alley, perhaps having just finished her third or fourth shift of the night, is a young woman named Effie. Effie is perhaps looking a little rough here tonight. She's young, she's living on the streets, but what would people see if they were to spy Effie as she comes out of an alley, perhaps looking for a quiet spot to take a break and smoke a cigarette or take a shot of gin? What would people see?
They'd see a small woman. She's slight in her frame. She's sort of ragtag and has her shawl crept around her shoulders as best she can, and she walks with a lopsided dignity. like as if one of her heels is broken on her boot, and she has a grin on her face. She rules this city in her mind. She's got bright eyes, sort of a moon face. She's just pale and kind of peeks out of the darkness, with dark hair, and cocky. Very, very cocky, and that is very much evident on her. She knows how to trick men. She knows how to trick women. She knows how to trick the cops that pass her by to leave her alone. And she is honing that skill every day.
And as you step out of this alley and find a quiet place to lean back, perhaps, and take a bit of a rest, you see this lone woman a bit further down, a good, block or more, just down the along the canal. It's empty and quiet and kind of dark. And as you stand there watching her, you don't feel like you should talk to her. I mean, you don't necessarily know her. It's just not the kind of things you do here. You watch her because you find that she is a very striking figure, because she's obviously someone like you from the street and sort of living in the same conditions, but there's something about her that it takes you a little bit of time to pinpoint what it is, because it's so different than what you're used to seeing. And after a couple of moments of staring at her, you figure it out. There's just this slight glimmer of hope in her posture as she's looking down at something that she's holding in her hand. There's just a little bit of pride left there, and that strikes you as very interesting. Eliza, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just going to say, I think Effie would maybe wave to her and offer a smile after seeing that little glimmer of hope.
Eliza, as you look up a little bit, wondering what you're going to do with this coin, and the boat has kind of gone past, and it's further down, you see a little bit further down. It's kind of hard to make in the darkness, but you see what looks to be like another young woman who just sort of waves at you.
I think Eliza would return the gesture. She would lift a hand and smile softly at her.
And it's pretty much at that moment, Effie, that you see the shadows move behind Eliza. And someone steps up to her, and you think maybe it's a client or a friend or something at first, but the young woman doesn't seem to be aware that this shadow is there. And the next thing that you see is the glint of a knife in the moonlight as an arm comes around quickly, grabs that young woman, covers her mouth, and with one powerful, unerring movement slashes right across her throat. And you see a jet of blood shoot up into the sky. And without barely wasting a moment or any effort, the figure that's just killed this woman that you just wore that turns around and pushes her into the canal as if she's just detritus. Her body falls, and you know that she's still alive when she hits that water, but you know she's not going to be very long. And the figure stands there for a moment and then throws a knife out into the water. It clangs on the side of the canal, then hits the water, and you know that in a moment this figure is going to turn towards where you are. What do you do?
I run. I pick up the skirt of my dress and I hightail it out of there, and I run to one very particular person or group of people, looking for a way to hide and protection.
Where are you going?
I'm going to see Billy.
You make your way back through dirty back alleys and streets that you know so well, dodging the groping hands and the invitations to come in for a free cup of gin, or some of your working sisters who perhaps need your help or need to ask you about something, and you just sort of run through all of it. And the streets in this time, of course, are always really crowded, especially in this, you're in the Limehouse district, which is one of the poorer districts of the city at the time. they're very crowded. There's people everywhere, stuff everywhere. The smells are kind of overwhelming. There's people with little fires, people living in little lean-tos, just overcrowded, disease-ridden, just a very, very terrible place. And then very quickly you cross a street and you're into another part of town that's as poor, but just slightly better kept. The fires are all in barrels rather than being out in the open. The lean-tos are built of wood rather than being made of tents. There are less people just sleeping in the gutter. The people cough less, are slightly better dressed. It's not paradise, but it is the territory of one of London's fiercest gangs. And as you run through them, many of them recognize you, say hello to you, shout to you, wave to you, but you don't stop. Eventually, you arrive at one of the gin mills. It doesn't even have a name. It doesn't have a board. It doesn't have anything. It's just this little shed where people go in and out just to get, a tin cup of gin for a bit. You walk in there, and at the back corner, sitting where he's always sitting, overlooking his domain, is Billy Dove Doyle. He looks up, sees you come in, sees your state, whispers something to one of his boys, who gets up, and then he motions you over. At his feet are two huge Irish wolfhounds that are always by his side, and he's just by the fireplace. What's up then, Effie? You look like you've seen the frickin' devil himself.
Billy, I think I have. I swear I have.
Where's his den? One of your boys treat you badly?
No.
You got his
no,
name,
he-
I'll send some of the boys around to have a chat with him.
It wasn't that. And she's sort of in a flurry, kind of spills out what she just saw, very hushed and in his ear, and she's sort of clutching onto him with sort of an iron grip.
He pats your hair. It's like, there, girl. Don't fret. Oh, you look like you've had quite a fright. Come here, have a sip of this, and he hands you a little tin cup of gin. It'll set you right.
And she'll drink it with shaking hands and sort of shake her head and say, I am. It was horrible.
Oh, tell me what you saw then.
Well, I was down by the canal, and I saw a woman, and she seemed fine, and we waved to each other, and then this man came out from the darkness, and he had a knife. He cut her throat right there before me, and she is, tears are flowing, and she's getting more and more upset as she recants this.
And you see that he's concerned for you. He cares about you, but you also see that a woman getting knifed is really not news to him. He's probably going to hear about 3 of these before the day's over, before the night's over. And he's like, well, was this girl you knew then? Is that what's got you all in a tremble like this?
I don't want to do it anymore. Not if there's some man who just comes out to the night and cuts girls' throats like that.
Well, we're not going to let that happen, right? We're going to look out for you. This was not one of our girls, right? She was somewhere else. We watch out for you and your sisters.
I don't want to do it anymore, Billy. Don't make me.
All right, well, we can talk about that. I like you. You're my girl, right? And he pinches your cheek.
And she'll sort of smile at him and sort of ring her fingers as he talks to her, and she'll give a nod and sort of placates.
Did this happen in our territory? No, it wasn't, right? It was further down?
Right.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you go and see that friend of yours there, the copper, what's his name?
Lestrade,
yeah. Lestrade's all right?
Yeah.
It's not too bent for a copper?
No.
All right, I'll tell you what. If it's going to make you feel better, why don't you go and see Lestrade and take him over to where this happened, and you'll have to take a look around, and maybe he'll be able to set your mind at ease. And then when you're done, you come back and you see me here, and we'll talk about your future.
All right, that's fine. Thank you, Billy. And she'll kiss him on the cheek and get up and go.
All right, darling. Catch you later. Be careful out there. And as you leave, he leans over and talks to a couple of his boys who are going to follow you and make sure that you're safe, but they're going to stay, a good little distance behind so as to not impede. You go and find your friend. Well, friend. What is Lestrade to you exactly?
I think a curiosity. I think that Lestrade seems to be willing to pay her for information, I would imagine. And that is exciting to her, that sort of prospect. So she kind of keeps them in her back pocket.
What would Lestrade be doing on a night like this? You're not an inspector yet at this point. You're still walking a beat, and your beat's in the Limehouse district. Where would Effie find you, Lestrade?
I imagine that she would find me probably trolling around, maybe trying to look for something to happen before it happens, trying to keep ahead.
Of the
I'm
trouble?
very eager to please my higher ups. I want to prove my worth, and I'd probably be sticking my nose into business that I shouldn't at this point.
As you walk the city streets, you are recognized, of course. Everyone knows the coppers in the area here. You've been around for a while. You're not old, but you've been around for a little bit. As Effie comes running up, just as you finished dealing with, there was a situation where a couple of drunk boys kind of started getting violent with an innkeeper somewhere, and then he took out a gun and shot one of them in the leg, and then that escalated into a whole thing, and someone got knifed, and eventually a couple of you guys got called in, and you are just managing to clear that up. You put a couple of the nastier customers in a paddy wagon, and they're being rolled on out of there. What would Effie see as she's waiting across the street to talk to you, waiting for all this to die down and the other cops to kind of clear out? What would Effie see?
I imagine that I would have sort of knocked on the back of the paddy wagon with probably a baton or something that I might have had, part of the uniform. She would see a rather androgynous-looking woman. Clearly a woman that's trying to pose as a man, or at least pass off as a man, perhaps in a way to have some sort of authority that women in this day and age might not have otherwise in this profession. Her hair is cropped short and slicked back. She wears no makeup, which gives her a little bit of a harsher look. And her uniform is pressed and pristine despite the activities of the night.
So eventually the wagon rolls off, the rest of the coppers roll off, and Effie, you find yourself able to approach Lestrade.
I think by this point, Effie's probably calmed down, especially after having spoken with Billy, and she'll sort of mosey over and almost in a cooing voice, she'll call out to Lestrade. Lestrade.
I look over. Effie, is that you?
It is.
Did you need something? Why are you out so late?
And she'll sort of tug on your arm once she approaches you and pull you off to the side. And you see then the mask of somebody who's just sort of being sing-songy kind of drop, and you see fear and concern in her eyes. I I saw something horrible down when I was working.
What kind of horrible?
And she holds her hand out. A shilling.
Lestrade looks at you. He knows that I know the song and dance, and I'm going to shove my hand into my pocket and come out with a shilling and drop it into your open, greedy palm.
And she'll curl her fingers around the coin and tuck it away somewhere unseen. A girl's throat was cut down by the canal.
The body?
There should be. I saw it happen.
We'll lead the way then.
And she'll take him.
You navigate very deftly and with a lot of practice through these streets. People, of course, know you're Billy's girl, and they know a copper when they see one, so they give you a bit of a wide berth, and no one, earlier everyone was waving at you and calling out to you. Now everyone's kind of minding their own business. You eventually arrive at the site of the murder on the edge of the canal. The only thing you see as you arrive, Lestrade, is a fairly good amount of blood that is just right now congealing and drying on the cobblestone near the canal.
I'm going to sort of kneel down next to the pool of blood, trace a finger in it. Just happened moments ago, you said?
She was here. I saw it. I ran.
And then I'm going to look at the canal.
Give me an investigation
Did she fall
check.
in? Investigation.
Yeah. So you'll roll your logic, I believe, plus your investigation. I don't know if there's investigation. I think it's learning. It's called in the game.
No, I have an investigation.
All right. So roll a number of dice equal to your logic and investigation. So in Vaesen, you roll a number of dice equal to your attribute and your skill. So you're going to roll 8d6, I think, at this particular point.
That's 2. 4 successes.
So that's pretty hardcore. I would like to take this moment also to tell you that I have a house rule when it comes to Vaesen, where if you roll 3 successes, so 666, you get the devil's luck and something extra cool happens to you. 4 is pretty excellent too. You can read this scene. It's almost like, like you can see it happening in front of you. You see the girl standing there, and kind of what you find most mysterious is that there are almost no tracks of the assailant. And when you kind of look around at the setup, it's almost impossible that an assailant could have been hiding somewhere and kind of walked up behind without Effie seeing them. And Effie is pretty sure that she saw the girl and then there was just a shadow there and then the assailant was there. And you find it very difficult because there was the broad street to cross, and with the moonlight and everything, for sure Effie would have seen someone come by. So that's the first thing that kind of you find a little bit weird. The other thing that you find weird is you've seen a lot of knife wounds. You've seen a lot of results of knife wounds. This cut would have been incredibly deep, incredibly quick. The spray of blood is enormous and sort of all over the place. The scuff marks on the ground, the body was not dragged. It was literally lifted up and thrown into the river. So whoever did this was incredibly strong. In the darkness like this, to get a cut that's so well placed with the carotid artery and all that, someone had very good knowledge of how to do this, good knowledge of human anatomy, and tossed them over. And finally, I will say that just as you're about to stand up and figure, I've seen everything there is to see, there's not much left, and if the body fell in the canal, we're never going to find it, you see something. You bend down and you see where the knife, where if you describe the knife hitting the side of the canal before bouncing off into the water, the knife literally cut into the cement at the side of that makes the side of the canal, and where the knife hit it and went through it, so it was incredibly sharp, very strange. There's a little bit of residue, like fine black grit or something, and when you kind of scrape a little bit of it out, you see that it's black, but it also glows, like almost like from some sort of inner light. It's very strange. You've never seen anything quite like it before.
As I sort of scrape out the black, I want to. I guess the only equivalent would be like maybe take a handkerchief and sort of scrape it into the handkerchief and fold it up and tuck it away.
You could totally do that. And at this point, you're absolutely certain something occurred here, something strange occurred here, but you very much doubt you're ever going to recover the body.
Effie, you said that you didn't see the man, though, right?
No, I didn't get a good look at his face. Not quite. But I saw it. I know what I saw.
Did you see how large he was? He must have been fairly large to be able to just toss a body.
I wouldn't have really gotten a good look at that.
No,
would I?
definitely tall. Like you would say, tall and very lean. Like he definitely towered over the girl, but he wasn't very broad or large, so he was very tall and certainly he kind of stooped a little bit. He had a high hat, a top hat on, a big cloak that kind of obscured the side of his face, and it looked like he was wearing maybe a suit underneath it. You saw the buttons of a vest, the chain of a pocket watch, nice dress pants, gloves, leather gloves on the hands.
Well, he was well dressed, too well dressed to be here, and, well, tall, but not necessarily big.
While Effie's describing everything, Lestrade to take out like a little notebook to start taking down notes. All right, and she looks a little. There's a scowl on her face as she's staring down at the canal. If the body was here, we're not going to recover it. It's not going to be possible. Are you heading home?
Would Lestrade know about her relationship with Billy? And who Billy
definitely.
Is?
Everyone around would know that you're Billy's girl.
Okay. I'm gonna go back and see Billy. I'm gonna stay with him tonight.
So you, Lestrade, know of this Billy character. He's the head of a gang. Now, he's not known to be unnecessarily cruel. He really takes care of his neighborhood, takes care of the people who live there. Of course, they have to pay, but, you know, like, his neighborhood is usually cleaner and sort of safer than some of the other neighborhoods. But you know his background. You know this guy is one of the most hardcore killers that's ever been in town. He's just like, you know, he's never really been caught. But in his heyday, like, you know, when the gangs used to fight out in the streets openly with freaking machetes and cleavers and, you know, the whole gangs of New York thing, he was like the butcher. He was one of the big killers, and he's kind of softened up a little bit in his old age, which at this point is in like his mid-30s. But you know, he's a mean dark character.
Lestrade's gonna offer her arm to Effie. Come on, I'll walk you back to the neighborhood.
She's gonna kind of slink up to Lestrade and wrap her arm around and sort of coo, and she's got another hand out.
You know, I should have you pay me for this. I'm escorting you back to safety.
Right, but if you solve a murder, then I'm the one who told you about it, isn't it? Funny how that works.
Lestrade's gonna take another shilling from her pocket and hold it out. If you have any more information, you come directly to me with it.
Of course.
I drop it, and I will escort Effie back to Billy's neighborhood. The safety.
And as the two of you walk on down the alley, heading towards safety, across the canal, something stirs in the water. Eliza, you don't know how long you've been here. There was pain for a while, a lot of pain, and you remember choking and suffocating. You remember swallowing water. And then it was like everything just stilled. And you were just floating at the bottom of this basin, and you could feel something pulling at you, but it was like you weighed 1,000 pounds, like it couldn't move you. There was something that wanted you, something that needed you to go somewhere, and it just wasn't happening. And it was literally after a while of just lying there waiting to die, you just thought, might as well get out of the water. You got up, started going out of the water. What's going through your mind as you're pulling yourself up hand by hand, crawling up the side of the canal embankment, vomiting water coming out of the cut in your throat, completely drenched, just the stench of this water. What's going through your mind?
Thinking about how cold I am, how I've never felt a cold so deep in my body that just cuts all the way to my bones. And a certain kind of numbness comes along with that cold. And as I'm crawling through the mud, the only thing that I can think of is my coin. Where's my coin?
You feel something cold and
Everything I had.
metallic in your hand.
I pause for a minute and I lift my hand to look at what's there, and disappointment washes over me. It's not my coin. I should have known before I looked at it. It's a knife.
Knife with a black blade that seems to glow from the inside. As you're inspecting this knife, you hear a voice. So, are you like are you one of the mermaids they keep talking about? You don't look much like a mermaid. You don't look like you got like a fishtail or anything. And you turn around and there's like an old drunk there who's kind of stumbling down and takes a swig of gin. I thought mermaids are supposed to have like a fishtail. You don't look like you got a fishtail.
I don't respond to him. I feel a wave of panic rush through me. I feel more vulnerable than I've felt possibly in all my life. And I'm going to roll to my side and try to lift up and start scurrying backwards a bit from this man.
As you do, as you kind of get up and try to move, you find that there's a strange dichotomy, because you feel like you have no energy, your strength is completely gone, but at the same time you move really quickly, as if your muscles don't register the cold or the pain or the tiredness that they should feel, and you find yourself very quickly sort of getting up and moving away enough that the drunk kind of goes, "Oh yeah, oof, I really gotta lay off the sauce. You all right there, lady?" He comes over. "I used to be a doctor. Do you want me to take a look at you? You don't look like you're doing so good. You have something there." When you reach for your neck,
real?
you feel it. The wound, the open, all the way around the front. I don't know at this point. I don't know what's real or not anymore. I had a few too many drinks, I think.
I think as she's touching her neck, she feels her middle finger slip inside the slit, and she kind of shivers a bit from it. And she's going to reach out and touch the man advancing on her as though she doesn't believe he's real.
Whoa there, little lady. I'll help you. Don't worry about it. You're safe with old Blarney. I may be drunk, but I'm not a pervert or anything. Okay, and as you kind of stumble and you reach out, you grab his hand, and you smell the body odor and the sweat and the gin just sort of wafting off of him. Then there's something else. There's something sweet. Something that's just calling to you. You feel a warmth radiating from it, and you kind of feel like if you could just reach out and take that warmth and touch it, it would warm you up. It would bring back some energy and warmth to your limbs. Do you want to try and reach for that?
Yeah, I'm cold and I don't understand it, and all I know is I want that warmth that I feel like I once had.
Make an empathy and manipulation roll.
You got it.
You got it, buddy. Old Blarney.
Right.
You know.
Out of 9 dice, 1 success.
Well, here's one of the great mechanics of Basin, is that you can push your roll. Pushing your roll means you get to reroll all your failures, but you have to take a physical condition. So you would mark off on your mental track either angry, frightened, or hopeless, whichever you think applies best, and then you could reroll all your failures.
Okay. Does 1 success get me through, or should I reroll? Should I push?
Well, you feel, so with 1 success here, I'll sort of describe it and you can decide for yourself. With 1 success, you feel a little bit of it. You feel warmth start to spread through your hand, up your arm, and then it starts to reach your chest a little bit, and then it kind of stops there. You can feel, like you've put your, like when you're cold and you approach a campfire, and then you feel like your legs or maybe your arms are feeling really hot and warm, but your back and the rest of your body still feeling kind of cool, right? So that's kind of what you're feeling. You feel like if you took just a little bit more, like if you pushed it just a little bit more, reached out just a little bit more, you could take a little more, just enough to kind of warm yourself.
Yeah, I recognize this moving through me, and I'm going to advance further on him and grab his face and cup it in my hands and really focus.
I haven't asked your father for permission or nothing.
That is 2 successes.
2 more successes.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the warmth, the life, literally leach out of him. His eyes grow wide, but not in fear. There's a moment of fear at first, but then there's a moment of almost ecstasy as he looks at you. His rotten teeth break out into a grin. He shudders. His skin turns all pale and sallow. You feel warmth spreading throughout your entire body. You now feel the breeze of the night hitting your skin once more. You feel stronger, replenished. You feel better than you felt in ages. And when your eyes open, you realize the man is limp in your hands. You're holding him up by the head. He's not breathing anymore.
I let him go instantly and step back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she's gonna run.
And as you run across the city in the port, a ship is rolling in. A ship that has arrived from a very long voyage. Jack, you're aboard a creaking ship, sailing into the eerie embrace of London. As night descends, the murky Thames river stretches out before you like a liquid ribbon, its waters reflecting the dim glow of gas lamps lighting the docks. The cityscape emerges from the shadows, revealing towering spires and ornate architecture cloaked in a shroud of mist. The moon, playing hide-and-seek behind the wispy clouds, casts an intermittent silver sheen upon the darkened waters. As your ship inches closer, the silhouette of ominous buildings with pointed rooftops and looming gargoyles comes into sharper focus. The air is thick with the scent of industry, of mystery, a heady mix that hangs between the echoing calls of distant dockworkers and the occasional haunting notes of a distant, badly tuned piano drifting from a waterfront tavern. Oil lamps flicker along the quays, casting dancing shadows on the cobblestone streets. Docked ships, their masts silhouetted against the night sky, creak and groan with the ebb and flow of the tide. You catch fleeting glimpses of people moving about the dock. Home. Finally, after so many years. As you take in this welcome sight of your home, what would someone see standing at the railing of this ship?
If you were to see Jack at this moment, he would be a frail man, dirty, looks homeless, looks like he hasn't had a good meal in years. But if you take a closer look, anytime you look in Jack's eyes, you'll always see determination. You'll see the cogs moving, the gears spinning. The moment he stepped off that ship, he already had a plan. He already knew he would get back to where he was. Takes a big, deep breath of salty sea air. It is good to be back.
Is it really, though? You hear a voice coming from your left. You look over and there's a young boy there, maybe 17, dressed in rags, very much looking like you, also kind of thin, drawn. So, newspaper boy's hat on. He's got straw hair that's kind of sticking out from underneath it. He's just hiding there behind a barrel. You figure he's a stowaway. Is it really good to be back here?
You don't know where I've been.
Australia, I take it? The penal colonies?
Not a super hard thing to figure out. I don't just mean physically. What's it any use to you anyway?
I'm just coming back from there myself. I don't reckon I've been there as long as you have, but sure made an impression on me nonetheless. But I can't say as I really remember this place. The only thing I remember of it was being forced to work in a factory, and my father just kind of abandoning me. So to be honest, I'm not sure this is going to be as warm of a return as you seem to think yours is going to be.
That's because you can't trust anybody.
Oh, I know
The only
that.
person you can trust is you.
What's your name then?
And call me Jack. And you?
My name's Emrys.
Well, Emrys, let me teach you something. If your father tries to put you back to work in a mill or a factory, punch him in the face one good time and he won't make that mistake again. You gotta take what you want around here.
Well, I'm here to find my mother. I don't give a rat's ass about my dad. He doesn't give a rat's ass about me. I'm gonna find my mother. That's what I'm gonna do. She's a mother. She has to love me, right?
You'd be surprised, but I wish you good luck on your endeavor. Should she not love you, find somebody else to take it out on. Take what they've got. Start from there.
He looks at you with a smile that says he's been there, done that, and he pulls this little knife, little switchblade knife out of his pocket. He goes, "Don't you worry. They got what's coming to them if they try.
It's a good start, but don't always race. Sometimes you gotta play the long game.
Good luck to you, Jack.
Same, Imrith. If our paths cross again, may we both be in better clothes.
If I had a drink, I'd drink to that.
I'm going to go find one now.
And what occurs in the next few years, well, doesn't matter for everyone's foggy memories. But as Jack Slattery steps off this boat, heads into London with a renewed sense of purpose, dedicated to better his own situation in his own life. He didn't know at that point what would come of it. But here we find Jack, 3 years later, in a mansion on the east side of town, wearing the finest of clothes, wearing a nice round hat made bespoke for him, like the rest of his clothes, like his leather shoes, his mustache is finely waxed. He's got a beautiful gold watch in his vest. How has Jack changed in those 3 years?
One would say Jack learned that you don't always have to simply take. You can share in what makes life better. Sometimes brute force isn't the only way. You can get a lot of things simply by talking in the right way, making the right decisions at the right time, and occasionally greasing a palm or two.
And exactly how did you end up in this situation, living in this beautiful home?
I came across a young lady, Rowan Mars, who is now my fiancée, and, well, for lack of a better term, is filthy rich.
A rich widow, I do believe.
Yes.
Though exactly who her husband was is...
a little concern.
As you lounge there, your feet up on the couch, reading today's newspaper, your fiancée comes into the room. Lady Rowan Mars is a woman of fragile beauty, dark eyes, blonde hair. She is not frail, but fairly petite. But there's an intensity about her, and that's the first thing that caught your eye back in the day, was that intensity. And it's pretty clear she doesn't come from money. There is a long, dark, sordid history there, but you've never really been able to unravel it. But you're not one to pry. She's not prying into your secrets. You're not prying into hers. Of course, she's into all sorts of weird things, and she's been asking you to do weird things, and maybe some of them have unsettled you, but you'd rather not think about them right now. And as she comes down into the drawing room and sees you there, and she goes, you're not gone yet. That's great. Are you still planning to head down to the salon today?
Certainly a few things to do.
Would you very much mind being a dear and dropping off an invitation for me? Someone I think you know, and she hands you a letter. It's for our little soiree that we're holding this weekend. I would very much like this particular person to attend. If you could see a way to deliver the letter to her and impress upon her that I would personally be very, very grateful if she were to attend. Tell her that she might find it quite interesting.
I can certainly give her the message.
Her name is Effie Clark. I'm sure you can find her if you put your mind to it. You're such a resourceful boy.
He's gonna kind of. He's gotten somewhat used to accepting slight stings from time to time in the overall necessity of what he's trying to find. So he's just gonna kind of take his hand and caress it across her cheek. Of course, my dear. You know I'm a man of cunning.
Amongst other things. But I don't have time to play right now. Many things to do, things to plan. But if you'd be a dear and handle this for me, I would certainly find myself, well, very much in the mood to thank you later.
He will kind of give a slight nod of the head and bow.
Tell me,
Oh.
and she puts her hand on your face and she looks into your eyes. You're not still upset about what I asked you to do the other night, are you?
Oh, it's done, it's done. I'd rather just be done with it and move on.
Well, that's just the thing. It's not quite done yet. There may yet be one or two more. You'll be up for it, won't you?
He's gonna somewhat grit his teeth at this comment. For you, dear, anything.
You know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important, and you know I can't ask this of anybody else.
Oh, I know. I hope it's important.
It
shows
is,
itself soon.
Once this is done, you'll see things will be different, and things will be much better. We'll have settled our scores, and we'll be prepared to undertake the next step of our journey. Now, be a dear and deliver this for me, and don't be late for dinner. The Thompsons are coming again tonight. You know how dreadful they are, and if you're not there to keep me entertained while she blathers on about her Rotary Club, you know I'm probably going to have to murder them both. So I still need them alive. It'd be great if you were here to, help smooth things over.
Fine, I'll be back, but there are pros to murdering them both as well.
Well, we try to murder only when we must.
Yeah, so if I have to sit through another one of her speeches, I may murder myself.
You're telling me, darling. Off you go, then. Ta.
Ta-ta.
Don't get into any trouble.
We'll get into a little trouble.
Well, I'd expect nothing less.
He's going to give her a little kiss on the cheek and take the envelope and begin on his way. Once he is out of eyesight of her, he is going to kind of drop the facade of happy husband, and if anyone was to see him, they will see a deep worry sitting in his eyes.
How would you like to go about trying to find Effie Clark? It's a name you know from a long time ago, and you know that back in the day she was someone who hung around with some of your former associates, the Dove Gang, etc. But you really haven't been keeping up with her too much, other than to know that she's somehow made her way into slightly more polite society.
I feel like we would go visit some of our old friends. See if we can't get a little bit more information on her on top of where maybe she might be right now.
Do you think that you are the kind of person who gets information from people through talking to them, or are you the kind of person who kind of uses his mind more and picks up on clues and detects things? So what do you think would be your...
Jack is very much a straight to the point conversationalist.
So as you're starting to figure out who you could go and talk to get some information, you feel on the back of your neck that cold little breath of air that you've come to feel fairly regularly in the past couple of days. And you hear a voice that says, "This is not over."
Chills kind of run down his spine as they do every time he hears this voice. He physically shudders and kind of staggers a little bit. He knows there's nothing behind him, but he's going to turn around to look anyway.
Well, nothing, just your beautiful mansion somewhere near your beautiful rich wife, and the darkness that's hidden in the basement.
What has she gotten me into?
I guess we'll find out. You
He will continue walking.
head off to try and find Effie. Meanwhile, Inspector Lestrade now. A number of successes have catapulted you up the ranks at Scotland Yard. Part of the reason for your success, of course, is something you may not acknowledge readily, but is a private detective by the name of Sherlock Holmes, who, when he was too bored with his cases to bother taking credit for him, sometimes left it to you and your partners. Your partner of the time, Gutterson, has retired, and you got a new partner now. A younger man called Wade. He's not an inspector yet, a detective, but he's fairly efficient in his own way. But you've managed to make it. You're an inspector now. You have the responsibilities of an inspector, and on this day, these responsibilities include being in the middle of a cemetery, staring at two freshly dug up graves. And the dug up graves themselves would be somewhat unsettling. You are in the Paupers Cemetery. There are no headstones, just simple crosses, wooden crosses. But you know who these graves belong to. And as you stand there looking at them, empty, you can't help but feel a chill in the back of your neck, all the way down your spine. Wade says, I don't think they walked out of here on their own. But if they did, we're going to need some backup.
At the mention of them walking out on their own, Lestrade is going to whip her head around. Why would you say that?
Oh, I don't know. Just seemed like the thing to say, just to lighten the mood. You look a little pale there, boss. Governor, you look like you've seen a ghost or something. Oh, you're right, Governor.
Fine. Lestrade is going to sort of itch at the scar on her neck. And look to the detective. Well, have any witnesses? Anyone see anyone come in or exit the graveyard?
No. I talked to a couple of the strange fellows who take care of this place. Neither of them saw anything. My guess is they were pretty deep in their cups last night.
Typical.
Well, talk about the graveyard shift. No one saw anything. Now, it's pretty clear that what we've got there are tracks, so someone backed up a wagon here, but I'm pretty sure you'd figured that out already on your own. I say 4 people, maybe 4 men digging. Would take them most of the night. Over here, we got the remnants of an oil lamp, so they went through one of them. And on that, I don't know what to tell you, boss. I don't even know whose graves these were, to be perfectly honest. There's nothing written on these crosses. He kicks one of the crosses.
Lestrade sort of flinches when he kicks one of the crosses. Probably best that you don't know then. I have someone that I might be able to talk to. She might have an idea of
Well, you got someone who regularly deals in dead bodies?
No, but I do know someone who hung around with people who used to grave rob, so
Oh,
sort of the same thing, I would imagine. Sort of running the same sort of groups.
I mean, coming up, you hear about these stories. Guys coming into the grave at night, grabbing up a couple bodies, delivering them to some sawbone somewhere who paid them a couple of copper a head. You don't really think that it's actually happening until, you're standing here
You see
next
an
to-
empty grave.
Yeah. So do you know whose graves these were then, Gov?
Lestrade again just kind of grips her neck. Yeah, I have an idea. Well,
All right.
they're not going to get found standing around here, so
No, it's true. I mean, kind of gives you the chills, doesn't it? Looking down to an empty grave like that, knowing you're going to end up there someday? Ugh.
in sort of like an uncharacteristically jovial manner, Lestrade's going to kind of pat him on the chest. Well, if I'm lucky, then it'll be you in there before me. So
Oh,
you let me know how it is.
was this a rank thing then?
You're a bit older than I am.
Oh. Yeah, not by much. I like to think of
By
myself
enough.
as, like a fine wine and well matured.
More like cheese, really. Stinky.
That cuts Lestrade, that cuts deep.
Come on.
Speaking of cheese, I'm kind of peckish. Do you mind if we stop for some cheese and pickle sandwiches on the way? I know this great spot.
Are you trying to take a break on the job?
No, I'm trying to get a cheese and pickle sandwich. I mean, we don't have to stop. We can literally just grab it on the way and keep walking. I mean,
I'm not waiting for you.
oh, okay, fine. I'll get it later. Just
I
peckish.
have things to do. Do you think that these crimes just solve themselves?
No, but I mean, they're dead already, right?
Yeah, and apparently they walked off somewhere, so we might want to run to catch up with them, huh?
You got a point. Look, I'm just, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. But look, Gov, you're right. I got your back, Gov. Let's go and see your body dealer.
Just let me do all the talking when we meet her. She's a little... What's the right word to use to describe her?
Skittish, weird, strange, dangerous, ferocious, savage.
All of those, but also she's a liar, so be careful.
Oh, one of those. All right. Don't worry. I sniff out a lie a mile away. It's true.
Lestrade just is going to stare at him for probably an uncomfortable amount of time before giving a quiet, a little silent nod and just walking off.
Well, could be worse, I guess. So sure we can't get pickle and cheese sandwiches? As you amble off out of the cemetery, heading either for your friend or cheese and pickle sandwiches, whatever come first. Down in the Covent Garden area, there is a little street. At night, by day, the street is kind of quiet, nothing much happening. There's a couple of weird tents here and there. There are, homeless people littering the street. Here and there, there's an oyster girl trying to sell a couple oysters. There's a coal salesman with his little coal crunching machine on one corner. There's someone making sausages over there that are probably made with, rat, amongst other things. There's street urchins that are running around pickpocketing, the usual. But at night, this little street, this little dead-end alley really comes alive. Lights come up, music is played, tents are propped up, signs are put up, and you find yourself suddenly in the Covent Garden Carnival. Up at the front, as always, is the barker, dressed in a red long-tail coat, stolen somewhere, a ratty top hat stolen somewhere, with a waxed mustache that extends out to this far. Come on then, come one, come all. We've got all the mysteries of the world for you to see here. Next to him, some guy plays a little accordion. There's a little monkey that's dancing. We've got all the mysteries of the world. We've traveled far and wide. We've traveled to the darkest, most dangerous corners of the world to bring you back the wonders, the frightful terrors that you can see for only 2p. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Step right up. Come and see Lobster Boy, whose unfortunate degeneracy has led him to transform into a mollusk with these big blue claws where his hands should be. Be careful he doesn't snap at you. We also have Birdie, our bearded lady. She's much more than just a lady. She's got follicles that would make your grandfather jealous. We also have the human pincushion. Unfortunately for this young man, being born without arms and legs has been a trial, but he has found his true calling as the human pincushion. Come and see him get pricked left, right, and center by all manner of foreign objects and not utter a single cry of pain. If you're truly adventurous, and if you've got 5 cents, you can also see the Devil's Cock. Yes, that's right, we've got it right here. It's in that tent right over there. You won't believe it when you see it. It's old and dried and kind of disgusting looking, just as you would expect the Devil's Cock to be. For 5 cents, you too can see it, and for a further 2p, perhaps you can even touch it. It is said that whoever rubs the Devil's Cock gains unlimited wishes for money and fame and power, but all of this at a cost. Perhaps you're looking for something else. Perhaps you're looking to talk to someone you love dearly who is gone. Well, step right up, ladies and gentlemen, in this tent right here. Ereshkigal, the Sumerian goddess of the dead, has been reborn right here in London. Well, not in London. We found her in West Ham, but we brought her here. Be careful. She sees the dead. She talks to the dead. She knows all their secrets. And for a mere 5 cents, you can ask her a question of your choice, and she will reach out beyond the grave, beyond the world of the dead, and bring you back answers you may not want to hear. Step right up. Step right up. And in this tent, small crowd has gathered tonight. The carnival's been going for a while. People are either bored of it. Some of them perhaps have a bit of fear because they've heard stories of they've come here themselves and have faced some of the terrors that lie in these tents. But there's still a few people here. In one of these tents, sitting on a stool, is apparently the goddess Ereshkigal reborn. What would someone see upon entering the tent and gazing upon Ereshkigal reborn?
They would see an elaborate hoax. Face paint, a bunch of metal coins that shimmer all around her neck. She's not as covered up. She looks exotic, different than what the people of the streets of London would be used to.
In front of you stands a man. He's got a young girl with him. The young girl seems very sad. She's hiding behind her father's leg. The man is looking around and he's like, "'Tain't been but 3 weeks since Hetty passed, and, well, as you can tell, Miller Lucy, her missus, there's something fierce, and, well, I'm not one to believe in sorceries or anything like that, but my brother-in-law Carl came and he says he talked to you and he says that you reached out beyond the grave and, well, you reached our Hetty and she spoke to him through you and, well, I thought perhaps you might be willing to do the same for us here tonight and perhaps give my little Lucy here a little bit of comfort in these trying times. I am told it's 5 cents to ask a question. I have brought 10. Would that be okay? Would you be willing to do this? I know you need something of the deceased in order to contact her. I've brought you this." And he pulls out this beautifully embroidered silk handkerchief. It was her most prized possession. Her father gave it to her on her wedding day. She didn't use it to blow her nose or nothing. She was much too much of a proper lady for that, but it does still hold her scent and her perfume. I thought perhaps you could use it and, well, reach out and talk to her. Her name is Etty. Would you be willing to do this? I don't even mind giving you 2 pence more if...
She's quietly studying the man as he's speaking, and from time to time her eyes are slipping to the young girl, and there's a hint of sadness there when she sees little Lucy. And once he's finished pleading, she's going to point to a small wooden box sat at her side with a slit carved into the top where he may make his tribute.
Yeah, right away. And he pulls his coins out and he pops them one by one to make sure you see that they're all going in. And here's the extra 2 bit that I promised. And he puts a couple more coins in. Very kind of you, very kind of you.
She kind of brushes away the handkerchief that he offers, and she looks down to the little girl and she holds her hand out. "Come then now, puppet. Come here."
She's a little bit alarmed as you reach out for her. Her father prods her. "It's all right, Lucia. She's gonna let you talk to Mommy. You go now, girl. I'm right here. And the girl comes out from around her father's leg and, wide-eyed, sort of reaches out a hand.
"Yes, give me your hand then. Let's see." And she places a hand over top of hers and closes her eyes for a moment. "Yes. Little Lucy, is it then?"
That's right.
"You're very pretty. You look quite like your mother."
You see her?
"I do.
What is she wearing?"
Her favorite dress. Do you remember her favorite dress?"
The blue one with the yellow cornflowers on them.
"Yes."
Oh, she always was very pretty in that dress. I always wanted to have one just like that. She said that when I grew up, when I was a little older, she would get one made just for me, just like hers.
She says she misses you quite a deal. She thinks of you all the time. She's always watching you.
I miss her too.
I know, darling. But she's there. And when you're alone, you can talk to her. Do you know that?
I can?
Of course. Just because you can't see her doesn't mean she isn't there.
But she's coming back, isn't she? She's coming back.
I'm afraid not, darling. Not the way you want her to, though. But she's there. She's always going to be there. And she'll always listen to you in your time of need. You tell her what you need to tell her.
I love you, Mommy. I miss you.
She's smiling now. She can hear you.
Hi, Mommy.
She says hello.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Puppet.
We'll
And
miss you.
she's gonna release her hands.
We really appreciate it, Miss. I was wondering, what while you've got on the line, so to speak, could I perhaps ask a question also? I did put the extra bits in the box.
Of course.
I was just wondering, could you ask her where she put the cigar box? She'll understand. I just need to know where the cigar box is.
She's gonna close her eyes again.
Creep, would you go ahead and give me an empathy and magic roll?
Yeah. Triple sixes.
The devil
Yes,
is in the
Satan.
house. It's not just his cock. It's the whole devil. Mentioned the devil's cock and Creep rolls triple sixes.
It was like it was always meant to be.
Like it was always meant to be. You suddenly feel a presence just sort of swoop in and kind of settle in upon you. You see several things. You see a little girl in a corner, kind of trying to hide, being very afraid. You see a woman in a blue dress with yellow cornflowers on it. You see a man raging and stamping around the house and drunk and just sort of being violent, and then the woman trying to talk him down, and he's just pushing around and he's looking for something and he's opening the cupboards, and you can see as he's kind of busy ripping everything apart and whatnot, the woman takes this little cigar box and gives it to the girl and goes like this and then points, and the girl takes the cigar box and she hides it behind a little buffet in the kitchen, a little hole that there's like a little plank that's loose in the wall, and she puts it there. And as she's doing that, the woman gets up to try and draw the attention of the man so that he doesn't see the girl doing that, and she starts yelling at him, and the man turns around and you can see anger flooding in his eyes, and you all of a sudden feel this woman as if you're her. You're standing in her place. You're wearing this blue dress with the yellow cornflowers on. You're seeing your little girl hiding, crying, afraid in a corner. This man that used to be your husband, that used to be a loving husband, but since he lost his job at the factory and he started drinking, he's just not been the same. And you can see the anger in his eyes, and you can feel the gin and smell it on his breath. And you just see him almost in slow motion as he reaches for that cast iron pan that's on the stove where the haddock is cooking, and he grabs it and he burns his hand, and you can smell the flesh of his flesh burning, and he swings that pan, and the next thing you know, complete blackness, and you come to drenched in sweat. Well, you're right, miss. Are you talking to the missus then? She there? Did she tell you where she put the cigar box? We really like it. You know, it's got special things for Lucy in there.
She is going to reach out and snatch his hand and hold it tightly.
Yeah.
And she gets very close to him.
Well, hold on now, missy.
I can see you. I can see what you are. You better be careful. And she's feeling that warmth again, that pull.
Well, what are you doing? Let go of me.
She's gripping him tighter as he's trying to tear away.
he starts around. He's like, Lucy, and he reaches out and he grabs his little girl and he kind of brings her in front of him and kind of like, let go of me.
She can't save you. Can see the
Help!
rot in you.
Help! What are you doing? And you can.
Wretched man.
What do you do?
I'm draining him.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
Give me your empathy and manipulation roll.
That's 2 6s.
As you drain him, you see his face starts. He becomes pale. His cheeks his cheeks start shrinking a little bit, sinking, and his eyes are wide with fear. The little girl is crying. She's hitting you, saying, "Let go, my daddy! Let go, my daddy!" And she's just kind of trying to beat you off. And as you're just about to take more of him, and you can see like he looks like he's about to have a heart attack, like. This young man whom you've seen before several times in the tent with you, a beautiful young man who looks just like he's never seen one single wrong thing done in his life, just very, very kind face, steps up and sort of comes up next to you and goes, "Please, miss, I think you should stop, miss. Someone's bound to call the coppers. Please. God sees what this man has done. He'll take care of it. Please, miss."
As she hears that voice, it's almost as though the light switch flicks and her face relaxes and she remembers where she is. And just before she releases the man, she says, "There are evils in this world greater than you, and you should be right to remember that." And she releases him.
You definitely have the devil in you, Missy. I don't mind telling you. He scoops up his little girl. "Come on, Lucy. The devil, I tell you. You're the fucking devil. I'll tell everybody." And he rushes out of the tent. The young man watches him go. Are you okay?"
Yes, I'm all right.
Well, you scared me there for a moment. I've never seen it come on to you so strongly before.
Thank you.
Oh, don't think anything of it. I was just afraid of, well, they start bringing the coppers around here and whatnot. I didn't think that would be a good idea, and the little girl seeing that, I just thought perhaps it was best to take her into account. But are you certain you're all right? You're looking a little pale.
I'm all right. Just lost myself for a minute.
Oh, I mean, I've seen you do what you do, and it can't be easy. I don't know if you really speak to the dead or not, but I've certainly seen that something comes over you, and sometimes when you do this. And my name is Percival. I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself before. I don't know what's come over me. My manners have flown out the door with this brute of a man. I apologize. Percival. My name is Percival.
Nice to meet you, Percival. My name's Eliza.
It's a very beautiful name. Easier to pronounce than Irish Kigal.
It is.
Pleasure to meet you. And he extends his hand.
She takes his hand very delicately and gives it a shake.
As you take his hand, you feel a warmth like you've never felt before. You feel a literal fire burning under his skin. You feel like if you were to take even just a small ounce from him, it would keep you going for months. There's a literal furnace of light and heat and warmth right under this young man's skin as your hands touch each other, and he's just smiling kind of beatifically at you, and it's incredible. it's almost too hard to resist it. You find yourself just wanting a taste, just a little bit, just a tiny little taste of it.
I think the smile slackens from her face as she's slowly losing herself in that lust and that need for something she no longer has.
It's like time just sort of disappears. You're just overwhelmed with this most intense, gratifying, warm feeling that's spreading through you. And you look at this man briefly and you see that same look of ecstasy that you're able to give sometimes when you don't want to hurt the person you're doing this to. And he's not fighting back. There's no holding back. And just as you're about to give in and take some, the front flaps of the tent open and the barker comes in. You! What's going on in here? How many times I gotta tell you, don't frighten the punters? That's all bread and butter that's running out there. You're just supposed to take their money, not fucking frighten the living life out of them. And what's this then? How many times have I told you, you want to do a little bit of side action, that's fine by me, but you take it round back in the alley. How many times, girl? You get out of here. And he grabs Percival, and Percival's kind of stunned and, you know, a little bit kind of taken from it. And he just grabs him and he pushes him out the door. Oh, I've seen him lurking around here. He's always in here. I'm willing to bet he hasn't spent a single fucking shilling on you. Well, come on then. Did you at least get some money off of this punter?
Sorry, Yes, I did.
Well, come on.
Should be so rough with him, though.
Well, he's just a leecher, isn't he? He's in here, he's not paying, he's just, you know, taking a gander, and you're probably going home pulling his putt after. I'm telling you, you want to do that, that's fine, but you've got to take it around back, and you've got to kick half of it back to me. You know the rules.
She is just so overwhelmed about what has transpired over the past handful of moments, and she can feel herself reaching this breaking point, coupled with this desire that's sitting in the back of her mind now to touch Percival again, to know that warmth more intimately. And without thought, she just reaches out and is going to grab at the barker and attempt to hurt him.
All right, give me a physique and force roll.
All right.
Physique. It's
Physique?
getting away, physique. You did use your psychic thingamabobber, so you do gain +3 to your force for the scene.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that's a lot of dice there.
Well, that saved me because I didn't roll any sixes at first, and I rolled 1 6.
That's good enough. You reach out and I guess maybe grab his hand or something, and just looking him straight in the eye, you grab it and you just twist and you feel the bone snap, as if you were like breaking peanut butter brittle or something. There's just this sound, and his hand goes backwards. He's like, "What? Oh, what the fuck, girl? Ah, oh!" He falls on his knees. He's like, "Ah."
I'm sorry.
What the fuck
I'm not
did
sure
you
what
do?
came over me.
Oh, God. And he kind of falls on his side. Oh, God. Help. Ah. What do you do?
As he is calling for help, she is now thinking about the words that Percival just said to her, that he didn't want anyone to call the coppers on her. And she becomes very anxious and she flees the tent.
You run out. There's people that have started kind of coming in as he's yelling and screaming, and people have started to kind of come around and are looking at what's going on. The other people in the carnival see you running out, and You know, in their eyes, they know. And the bearded lady's like, Lobster Boy's like, waving with his little lobster claw.
I imagine as she's running, she's like ripping off the faux jewelry and kind of tossing it to the side, knowing that these are all identifying things on her in this moment, and just trying to get lost in the alleys.
As you're running, almost heedless, not really looking where you're going, you make it a few streets before you stop to catch your breath, and as you do, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to follow you just like this, but you seemed in distress. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. It's my fault that you were stuck in this. I so appreciate it. I'm so sorry. He doesn't appreciate it. You were like, I'm so sorry. Hey, thank you, Raiders. Agora Quest. Thank you very much for coming in. We greatly appreciate you. You're coming in just as we're seeing a lot of weird stuff happens, but that's usually what goes on here.
Hi, Sean.
Oh, it's people you know. Creep knows everyone. Thank you so much for the raid. Really appreciate it. So Percival is there, and he says, "I'm very sorry. Look, I don't have a lot of money." And as he says that, he starts to cough. I'm sorry. Just one moment. And he keeps on coughing. You see blood flecking his hand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't have a lot of money, but I'll give you what I have. I cost you your employment there. I'm sorry. I'll be okay. Just give me a moment.
Don't be silly, Percival. It was good while it lasted, but... Are you all right?
Oh, I'll be fine. And he usually pulls out a handkerchief and he brings it to his mouth, and you can see it's stained with blood and phlegm from just weeks of coughing into it this way. It's like, I'll be fine. It's just a little bit of a cold, I guess, or it's very, very damp where I'm staying. I'll be all right.
Damp?
Yes. The lodgings I have are near the Thames, and aside from the stench, it's kind of a toss-up between which one will kill me first, the stench or the damp.
Would you like to come home with me? I could put a kettle on for you.
I couldn't do that, miss. That wouldn't be right. You hardly know me. No, I couldn't do that. That would be completely wrong. I'm glad to walk you to your door if you want, just to make sure you get there safe. But I
Percival, don't be silly. You did a good thing for me today. You tried to protect me. Not many people do that.
I got you fired.
No. It got me so fired that Barker was a horrible man. It was a matter of time, really.
And that horrible moustache of his, it was unsightly. He looked like he was getting ready to take off. The idea of a cuppa sounds quite capital, really. Are you sure you don't mind?
Not at all. Come in.
All right, Miss Eliza. He puts his hat on and he extends his elbow out to you.
She's gonna hook her arm into his. It's like you're a proper gentleman, Governor.
Well, I don't know about that. I did accept an offer from a strange lady to go up to her rooms, so I don't know if proper is really the word I'd use, but, we'll make do.
Right then. Let's go on then.
Let's take ourselves across the city, where a man dressed in fine attire, with a waxed mustache, is making his way through A city that used to look down upon him. He was filthy, he was dirty, he was criminal, he was street scum. But look at him now. Shiny, polished, a man of substance, man of culture. You have managed, thanks to your contacts, to track down Effie. You remember a small slip of a girl. Dirty, cute, but just, working the streets. And now you stand in front of a house that's not quite on the level as your main squeeze, Lady Rowan Mars' house, but certainly a far cry better than anything else you've ever stayed in your life. There is a gate. There are columns in front of the house. You can see around the back a nice 2-horse drawn cab. Effie Clark has gone places. You hear the barking of a dog coming from around the back of the house. You open the gate and walk up. You get the feeling that someone's in the garden out back, perhaps. What would you like to do?
Let's kind of take a good long look at everyone or everything.
Manicured lawns. The trees could use a little trimming, but very clean, very nice. The neighbors are, within gunshot range, but not so close that you would find them too annoying.
Just kind of gives it a once over, and hearing someone gardening in the back, he would step to the side of the house and kind of look around, see if he could see anyone back there.
I'm sorry. I don't think you hear gardening. I think you hear people in the garden. I think as you come around the back, you see a nice, beautiful garden, in fact, with a little a metal table, some chairs, a little awning to protect from the sun. You see a ginormous Irish wolfhound running and jumping about. And as you approach, you see someone sitting there in a chair. What does he see, Effie, as he comes around the corner and spies you?
He sees Effie Clark all grown up. She is dressed well, very well, considering her start in life. She sits with a straight back and a smile on her face. Her hair is still dark. It's still kind of that moon face, that framed in darkness, that bright, pale face. But she is certainly, she's clean. She's well-groomed, delicate maybe in some ways, but any who have come to know her know that she is no longer that fearful young prostitute who clung to Billy Doyle so much.
I'll say that it's probably even the Irish wolfhound more than the girl herself, because she really doesn't look like she used to, but that Irish wolfhound looks exactly like the breed of dogs that Dove Doyle used to prefer, and there's no doubting that. As you come around the corner, suddenly the dog goes from playful gamboling around to, in a split second, just running towards you, dead silent, not barking, nothing, just low to the ground, ears back, just darting right for you. What would either of you like to do?
Would Effie recognize Jack? If she were to turn and
look. Have you figured out amongst yourselves a little bit what the past is, or were you just sort of acquaintances?
I think mostly just acquaintances, but I think if she saw him hanging around Billy or any of Billy's men, she would call for Mister to stand down and to wait.
Well, give me a empathy and observation. I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm rolling
Four
7
dice,
dice?
four dice for empathy, and then 3 for observation.
So 7 total. That's 7, right? Yes. 1, 2.
Yeah, I'm just checking if you have any talents that would help.
No.
No. Good. Go for that.
Okay. Oh. That is, I gotta roll one more. That is 2 successes.
That's pretty good. So maybe the face doesn't tell you anything, but the demeanor, the way he holds himself. You remember that there was one man that used to hang around that wasn't like the others. He wasn't. He was a stone cold killer. He had a cold, the cold eyes and everything, but he wasn't one of those guys that just got drunk and became like a slobbering idiot. He was. You remember him because you remember that he always aspired to more. He always had his eye on the ball. He always talked about how he would get more, how he would get his. He was always working hard, and seeing him now, you realize he appears to have made it. Like you had heard he'd maybe been shipped out to Australia. At some point, he got caught for some murder beef or other, but looks like he's done all right for himself.
Then, yes, she will, Effie would recall Mr. back to her side.
And the second you speak, Mr. stops, drops at the front legs, bends his head low, then gives you a warning look, Mornian. Like, I will eat your fucking balls. And then goes back right next to Effie, lays down on the ground, keeping an eye on you. Giant Irish wolfhound.
Quite the protector you have there.
You can never be too sure around these parts, which is ironic considering where she is and where she lives now and her uprising within society.
Jack will kind of straighten his tie up, pull his shirt down, and begin walking towards you. You're Effie, I presume?
That I am. And forgive me,
Jack.
I don't really... Oh, Jack, of course. You knew... Well, you know Billy and that group.
We've hung around the similar circles for a while, but I'm here in completely different circumstances today.
Oh, well. And
as Jack begins walking towards her, he will reach in his jacket pocket and pull out the invitation.
As you reach in your jacket pocket, Mr. rises up again, and he looks like he's about ready to pounce. And you hear coming from the house, "Is everything quite all right, Miss Clark?" And you see your butler, Davies.
Everything's fine, Davies. Thank you.
I see you've got guests. Would you like me to bring out some tea or perhaps some lemonade?
Oh, tea would be lovely. Tea or lemonade?
Do you have anything a bit harder?
What time of day is it? Is it?
I would say it's probably like early afternoon, because Lestrade's already gone to the cemetery. Jack's probably a late riser. So I would say like early afternoon, like 2 o'clock.
She would sort of look him up and down and smile. She knows she's in good society here, and she's going to look back to Davies. Tea. Thank you.
Very well. If you need anything else, of course, just ring the bell.
Of course.
He'll step back inside, and Mister's still staring at you as your hand is in your pocket.
He will kind of gingerly pull out the invitation. My fiance would like for you to attend a gathering, and he will hand her the invitation.
And who is your fiance? And she'll take the envelope and sort of look it over.
Oh, I apologize. Lady Rowan Mars.
Do I know this name? I would imagine.
You do. give me a let's see how much you do know. Go ahead and give me a logic plus, let's call it investigation.
Okay. Counting is hard. That is 2 successes again.
Excellent. So you do know Lady Rowan Mars. You know that she is a widow who inherited a fortune from a husband. It's not very clear who the husband was or sort of what happened. You know that she's an industrialist, involved in several concerns, like metal concerns, like companies that, like foundries or forgers and things of that nature. You also know that she is a very discerning acquirer, very much into things dealing with the occult, artifacts, books, things of that nature. She has often made use, back when you were more involved in your thieving life, she's often made use of people to acquire things that were hard to acquire, but she's also not been afraid to pay for them. And most recently, the thing that's sort of come out the most. So there was a few years ago, about a year ago, there was some sort of situation where a group of rich, powerful, shady people in town were murdered by, sort of all in the same time, by a couple of people. And the rumors that were circulating in the back channels of high society were that these people were all involved in a group called the Blackwood Society. And this Blackwood Society was supposedly some sort of occult thing, rich people bored doing weird occulty shit. And one of the rumors that you got is that somehow Lady Rowan Mars was connected to this Blackwood Society. Hello, Lee. Thanks for joining us. Another piece of information, since you got 2 successes, another piece of information you got is that recently, Lady Mars is said to have acquired a very rare item. No one knows exactly what it is or what it does, but Scuttlebutt was kind of a buzz with it. Some sort of occult thing that is said to have some sort of link to the world of the dead or something like that.
I would imagine Effie, in her information brokering, would find this very curious.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Phoenix Iwaki coming in hot with a huge raid. Thank you so much, Phoenix. Let me take a second here to tell you all that Phoenix Iwaki, as well as us over at Guild Superior, are running a fundraiser this weekend. We've been running it for the past week or so. We're running it again tomorrow. It is Games for Love. We are raising money for the charity that buys toys for sick kids. Phoenix was running a game tonight for that charity. Tomorrow, Darling Creepshow, who's right here, will be joining us for a game of Blade Runner that I will be running over on Guild Superior tomorrow afternoon. Our good friend Kurt, who I think is in the chat, is running The Walking Dead, and tomorrow morning, Phoenix is running another game on his channel. So there's tons of good stuff going on. You can check out the socials of Phoenix Iwaki or the socials of Guild Superior for all that information. Hope your game went well, mate. Thank you so much for the raid. Greatly appreciated. We are playing Penny Dreadful. I am very sorry to have interrupted you, Bones. Just had to give a shout out to my sensei, Phoenix Iwaki.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, people. I'm sorry, you were saying, my friend.
I was saying, in her information brokering, she would probably want that information very much. She would probably find that very curious and would find great use for it in higher channels. So she'll slip open the envelope and read the invitation while they're both standing there, and I would imagine Mr. is still growling.
The invitation is very sparse. It is written on extremely beautiful paper in an extremely elegant hand. It simply says, Lady Rowan Mars would be delighted for you, Miss Effie Clark, to attend a little soiree on Saturday at 8 p.m. A light after dinner will be served, and the evening will proceed with some musical entertainment as well as a seance. You are invited to attend with a guest if you wish. Please RSVP via the courier. Looking forward to see you, Lady Rowan Mars.
I will say she did send me specifically to ask you. Apparently she really wants you to be there. It would mean a lot to her.
Effie's gonna sort of run her fingers over the invitation and trace the letters and stop at the word seance. Wow, this is quite an intriguing invitation. Are you just her courier now? And she sort of looks you over and knows that that is probably not the case.
Oh no, my dear. I just wanted to help out my fiance, and I was in the neighborhood.
Oh, fiance. And she sort of gives you a smile and closes the note up and tucks it away. And, well, I would be delighted to join. And I think I have an idea of somebody who I might bring with me as a date.
Fantastic. I do look forward to seeing you there.
Oh, yes.
I do have a bit of another question.
Certainly.
Seeing as, from what I've heard, you know things at times, have you ever heard of voices where there's no people?
Jack, I sell and trade information. I'm not a therapist or one of those psychologists, whatever. I don't deal in the mind.
Neither do I. But let's say someone was hearing things that weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Might that be information that you've heard of before?
Would you like
I don't think...
to see if you've...
Yeah, let me find out.
So I will say, give me a logic and learning. Now, just give me your own kind of honest assessment. Is your character kind of interested in occult things? Does she look into them, or would she just have picked up things in passing?
I think that she would have probably picked things up in passing, and probably Effie is very much a woman of efficiency. That's why she has been able to build her enterprise here. So she is taking in information that she knows she can sell and turn a profit on. She's not looking for anything superfluous or anything occult or what she might deem as like ghost stories.
Okay.
She would probably just maybe hear things like that and sort of just cast them really off to the side.
I'll buy that for that. So go ahead and make the roll without any penalty then.
It's one success.
All right, so one success is all you need in Vaesen. You yourself don't know. Like, people talk about hearing voices all the time. There are advances in medicine now that talk about, mental health issues that might create that. But then, of course, there's always the old folk tales, the old stories, this and that, the other. You would certainly think that, and this is what I'm going to say, with your success, I'm not going to give you information about this because I think it's a little bit outside your purview, but I'm going to give you interesting information nonetheless. So you wouldn't know necessarily anything specifically about that other than the same stories, this, that, the other. You could probably find out if you wanted. But what this tells you is that He is supposedly fiancéed with one of the preeminent, occultists or people interested in the occult in London. And he's asking you about this. And not her. Why? Like, that alone tells you that why wouldn't he be asking her, right? So he's trying to hide something from her. There's some sort of situation there. So I think that's the information you get out of this, more than the occult answer.
I think that at this point in Effie's career, in her status and wealth, she wouldn't necessarily be biting to or pushing away interests versus efficiency, right? So she would find this interesting, and she really wouldn't be worried about, coming up with rent money. So she'll motion for Jack to come sit with her and say, "This is a bit strange. I personally haven't had any interactions, but do tell more." And she's sort of posing this as a very casual gossip sash, and wants to sort of bring down his defenses. I think that she's good at that and getting people to talk.
Well, not me. Someone close to me. I don't have exact information, but I know it's driving them mad. I didn't know if maybe you had heard something in your trade, that's all.
No, but I would be certainly welcome to finding out. I would love to take on a personal job. Haven't done that in a while.
Morning in your head, you hear, "She cannot help you. She knows nothing of us."
As you're kind of sitting there and you say that, you watch as Jack shudders and just his already pale face becomes even paler. And sweat begins to form on his forehead. He's very quiet for an unusual amount of time.
As he's trying to compose himself, Davies comes back out with tea. And as he does, he says, "Miss Clark, there's somebody else to see you here at the front door, and Inspector Lestrade. Would you like me to show him around back?"
Oh, please do. Just the person I wanted to see. What a curious moment this is. And she's sort of, as she says that, she's watching Jack and very slowly looks back to Davies and then gives a smile as he, delivers the tea. And please do warn him of Mr.
I will endeavor to do so, ma'am. And he very expertly pours out the tea. And then as he leaves, from out of his pocket, he very surreptitiously pulls out a little piece of, doggy treat, and he just flips it up in the air. And without ever his eyes leaving you, Mornion, Mister jumps up, grabs it out of midair, then lands on the ground and starts chewing on it, his eyes still on you. A few moments later, Inspector Lestrade and another gentleman you don't recognize, who is in a big baggy coat and a bit of a floppy hat, comes sauntering in. You've been told, Inspector Lestrade, that Miss Effie Clark has company already. A man by the name of Jack is all Davies could tell you, but he says he seems to be on the shadier side.
Aren't they all?
Well, Miss Effie does have quite the colorful past.
And that's what makes her so... useful.
That and her money. Please, right this way. And he follows you with a couple more cups of tea. And he leads you out to the garden in the back. Beautiful little garden, little fountain in the back. There's a huge Irish wolfhound that's keeping an eye on this louche-looking character off at the table, and you see Effie, who you probably see a bit less than you used to, but certainly this wouldn't be a surprise. You've seen her since she's, made it.
I will stride up to Effie, take her hand if she offers it, and place a kiss onto it, as I know she is wont to expect that kind of greeting.
And as that's happening, Jack, in your head, you hear, "No, no, no, murderer, murderer! She did it, she did it!" This screaming in your head, like you're looking around, like you think these people must know. Like they must hear it, but they're just kissing each other's hands and someone's reaching for some tea. And in your head, there's just this intense screaming. I'm going to need you to make a fear check, either logic or empathy, your choice, but you roll just the logic or just the empathy. And if you have any talent that helps you with fear, though I don't think so.
Mm-mm. 1 success.
Right. So with 1 success, you're able to control yourself as suddenly this intense fear just shoots right through you. But this voice that you've had in your head is screaming, "She killed him! She killed him! I want you to kill her! Get up now! Put your hands around her neck and strangle her!" With your success, you are able to resist the urge to get up and strangle Lestrade. But I would say actually Lestrade and Bones and Effie, give me empathy and observation checks just to see if you notice the giant vein bulging in the forehead of Jack.
One success.
Are you alone, Mornian?
Yeah, that was going down the road. Crazy.
I got 2 successes.
So both of you, as you're leaning down and kissing her hand and you're very taken by all this, you both at the same time look over and you feel more than see Effie, Mister's hair just raising on the back of his neck as he kind of gets like this. You turn on, you see Jack is red-faced, vein pumping in the forehead, sweat pouring down, and he looks like he's barely holding on.
Is your friend all right?
She's gonna look to Mr. first and sort of hiss down at him to relax. And she'll look to Jack and say, "Would you like to lay down in the parlor for just a moment?"
No, sorry. I'll be all right. Give me a moment.
It's not cholera, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. That would be gross.
That would be horrible.
Oh my. Oh, okay. Well, drink some tea and see how that works out for you. Inspector, my dear, what do I owe the pleasure to?
Straight's going to talk in a bit of a lower voice. Had something peculiar pop up this morning.
Mm-hmm.
2 graves dug up. You and I both know that was the trademark of a certain gang around here.
I'm assuming you want me to go pay a visit?
If possible, I just need assurance that it wasn't them.
She's gonna sort of stare you hard in the eyes. And you would know that she would more than likely find out the information. Whether or not she told you the truth is a completely different answer, depending on what she finds out. She's going to hold her hand out to you as well. A shilling. Which is like nothing to her at this point.
Lestrade is going to place the shilling in Effie's hand.
As you do that, she's going to take your hand. Don't make me regret finding out what I'm going to find out. Do we understand each other, Inspector?
As always, Effie.
Wonderful. And she'll release you and just drop the shilling on the table. Like it's just nothing.
Now,
Do I recognize her companion?
so go ahead and give me a logic and learning. I would also ask you, Mornian. I'm assuming you want to keep certain things secret, so I would ask you to make a empathy and manipulation roll.
I got 2 successes.
You definitely recognize Broad Arrow Jack Slattery.
Real quick point.
Yeah.
It says, oh, never mind. That's for intimidation.
I am, however, Morning, going to give you a boon on that. So roll 2 extra dice, because I think there's so much going on in your head right now that, you might have other things that would.
Okay. So
2 more extra dice.
I got 3 successes. 3 6s.
Oh, devil's luck. So at no point do you betray anything about anything, and you and I both know what we're talking about. You absolutely, totally recognize him, Lestrade. Did you have another question that went along with that, or? I would say you recognize him from in the past, like knowing what he was, and you haven't run into him since then, but you've heard that he's gotten himself set up with, a better situation.
I do have a question for you, Bleak.
Yeah.
In the possible connections that we might have had, you mentioned a string of break-ins and assaults that fit his MO. Is that still applicable to this?
Yeah,
or no?
You've been looking into the second you see him. That kind of dawns on you. You've been looking into this string of, as you say, assaults. That's kind of like his old MO. So like as soon as you see him, you think, oh, of course that's been happening. But then you kind of see the way he's dressed and everything, and you're like, why would he be doing those things if he's dressed like this, and if he's got this? So it's kind of conflicted right now, but you still kind of like him for it. Like that was definitely his MO from back in the day.
And real quick as well, do I recognize Lestrade?
You never forget a face. You remember a young street cop. You were never sure if it was a man or a woman, which is why she stood out. But you remember that they earned the respect of the street really quickly. And you know that they played a small role in your original arrest, like they were involved, but they weren't the lead detective or anything, because they were just a street detective back then, a beat cop back then, just starting out. So you wouldn't hold any particular animosity about that, but kind of interesting to see them here as an inspector now. And actually, both you and Bones, please, if you would give me a empathy and observation roll.
I got 1 success.
I got no successes.
So with 1 success, Effie, the man that's with Lestrade, the other detective, his name is Wade. He's on Dove's payroll.
Oh. Interesting. Effie keeps this information to herself.
Imagine she does. So to reset the stage, Jack is still kind of looking like he's, trying to pass the log of a lifetime. And the two of you will edit that out. So just to reset the scene, Jack still looks like he's struggling for breath a little bit, like he's got something going on. Jack, you still hear the screaming going on in your head, and this voice urging you to get up and throttled, kill, maim Lestrade. And the two of you have just signed, or just struck a bargain with the exchange of the penny. What would a lot of you like to do? Yeah, sorry, because I know you were about to do something, and I interrupted you before with all this, but please go ahead.
I'm going to sort of lean down to Effie quietly, so especially Detective Wade can't hear. If your boy is involved in these graves, I worry for the implications of that, and not from a legal standpoint. These graves were not ordinary.
Can't tell if you're threatening me or not, Inspector.
I would never threaten you. That's below me.
I find that hard to believe, but nonetheless, he's not involved. But I can find out who is.
I would greatly appreciate that. And what's his deal?
He came to bring me an invitation to a party. I think he might be suffering from some sort of heat stroke. I'm not sure.
You can't even hear them anymore, Jack. It's just the voice in your head that's going, if you don't get up now and take that knife that's in your boot and plunge it in her rotten, dark heart, I will do it for you, and then I will kill everybody else in this household, and then I will kill you. But not before I walk this disgusting, filthy body you call yours back to your house, where I will skin your wife alive before I eat every ounce of flesh off her bones.
As this threat plays through, you just hear Jack suddenly stand up and yell, "Shut up!"
Her?
Scooby now?
Mr. is kind of taken aback a bit. It's like, what the?
I think Effie would sort of rear back and look Jack up and down and say, tell your fiancé I will come to her party, but Jack, I think it is time for you to leave. And she's going to sort of glance down at Mr. and command him to sit up.
Mr. is gonna stand right up, still staring at you. And he's like, finally.
Assuming Jack can hear them.
Yeah, now that you've screamed shut up, when you did that, it kind of quietened and down a little bit in your head.
Yes, my apologies. Long day and all. I can see myself out.
Please do.
I'll let the lady know you're coming.
And please do. And she's gonna look up at Lestrade. Do you want to go to a party with me?
Lestrade sort of regards her curiously, because Effie has a reason for doing and saying everything that she does, and she clearly wants something from them. And what party would that be?
A seance party. And she's going to stand up and she's going to slink very close to you. And she's trying to use her charms on you.
Wade was about to eat a scone and he stops.
Seance party where?
Lady Rowan's. Rowan Mars. You know. The freaky rich people.
Lestrade does not need any further convincing. Lady Rowan Mars, you said.
Indeed. Jack's fiancé. I'm assuming Jack is leaving at this point.
Mhm.
Okay. How curious is that he acts so strange when he brings me an invitation to his lady love's weird parties.
Effie,
Yes, Lestrade.
you ought to be careful.
I'm very
Whatever
careful.
she's dealing in, it's not meant for us. And if she's
Yeah.
inviting you somewhere, it means you're in danger.
I can't rightly bring Billy with me. He's not really meant for that sort of society, is he? So
I will
I can-
go.
You'll protect me, won't you?
But do I get to go? I like to
No.
go to parties.
Not you.
Bugger.
And well, maybe I'll bring Mister with us. It'll be fun. We can dress him
You're
up.
gonna allow the dog into her home.
She's gonna look at Mister and sort of like, for this like giant dog that he is and as vicious as he is, she sort of baby talks him in this moment. And you'd be a very polite sir, wouldn't you, Mister? And give him a little pat on the head.
He just still kind of staring out the way that Jack left, and then when you touch him, he looks up at you, and all of a sudden he's got that playful look on his face again, and his tongue goes out, and he starts jumping and goes out, and he goes back to chasing butterflies out in your yard.
He's a very good boy.
Well, I would be your guest, so hardly would be me to prevent you from bringing your dog with you.
I bring Mister with me everywhere. Wear something nice, wouldn't you, Lestrade?
Lestrade sort of like straightens up. Lestrade is very pristinely dressed. The notion that she would not show up to a party pristinely dressed is absurd to her.
I think that Effie just likes to dig and bother you and make you feel a little bit like you need to adjust yourself.
Lestrade will nod, and then as she goes to take her leave, she's going to sort of whack your back very lightly with her cane. Straighten up your posture. When's the party?
She looks back at the invitation.
Saturday.
Saturday.
I'll see you Saturday then.
Very good.
I guess we're leaving, says Wade, and he picks up a couple extra scones, puts them in his pocket. Thanks. It was very nice house. Nice house. Good dog. Good dog.
I think she would stare kind of hard at Wade and let him know that she knows just who he is, very silently.
He winks at you.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye.
Ta. You hang out with some weird people, Lestrade.
I wouldn't really call that hanging out. She's useful for the information she brokers.
Well, you know, at least I got a couple scones out of it, since I didn't get any cheese and pickle sandwich. Scone? No, never mind.
You haven't washed your hands, no.
I did yesterday. Jeez, you take me for a barbarian?
Do you want cholera? That's how you get cholera.
Jeez. So before we skip on over to Eliza, what will each of you do at this point? Where's Jack heading? Hey, Flea Monkey, what's up, Shelly?
I believe with that whole situation that just kind of occurred, knowing that the voices kind of listened when he yelled shut up, he would begin to head back home where he could try to piece together exactly what's happening and what he needs to do.
As you walk home, the voice in your head has calmed down a little bit, but it's still there, and it says, now you know what you have to do if you want to be rid of me. I want Lestrade dead. She
He's just
killed
gonna-
my brother. She was responsible for getting me hanged. I want her dead. If you do that, I can probably leave you alone.
Death won't be the easy thing.
Wouldn't be the first time you kill a copper, would it?
I have no problem killing her.
Well then, best start finding a way.
Leave me alone until then.
You hear nothing in return. What will...
Jack-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Jack's gonna ponder that and continue his walk.
Effie, what will Effie be doing?
Effie's making a trip down to see Billy.
And what will Lestrade do?
I imagine that Lestrade's probably going back to their office in Scotland Yard, where you will sort of see them standing in front of a board that has lists and names of missing girls and victims of bodies that have been found that they have obsessed over for the last 3 years.
One especially, because on that board you have a mark where you know a body should be, and a mark where a body was never found. Back across town, in a little bedsit, very small, very tiny, but cozy, made as cozy as possible, with what means you've managed to acquire. You sit with Percival. He's sitting on your little bench with his knees straight up and his hat on his lap, and you've made some tea, and he's very bashful, kind of not looking at you too much, and it's very good tea. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is it okay if I ask you a personal question?
Go on then.
I'm ashamed to admit that I've been watching you now for some time. It was quite by accident that I discovered you the first night. I was simply wandering around, and I got lured in by that horrible barker. And well, once I got into your tent and saw you and saw what you could do, I was mesmerized. I was completely mesmerized, and well, I left that night, and I simply could not stop thinking about you, and I've been coming back almost every night since. Watching you do what you do, sometimes bringing joy, sometimes bringing pain to the people, and well, I expect it must take a very dreadful toll on you. How do you manage it?
I just simply do, I guess. I haven't honestly thought too hard about it. I've noticed you, though. I've seen your face before on the back, watching.
I'm sorry if that was terribly ill-mannered of me to do this, but well, it was stronger than me. It was a compulsion, really. Just this need to see you, and when I did it, it calmed me. I don't mind telling you, I have terrible pain in my soul, and well, simply seeing you there, well, it gave me, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. It made the storm in my heart still. Are you okay? You sometimes look like you're not. You sometimes look like you're very ill, and then some other times you look radiant.
We all have to have off days, yeah?
I don't mean to be too forward, but you know what I mean. It's not just an off day. It's
I assure
much
you,
worse.
I'm quite alright. But you? The blood on your handkerchief.
Oh, it's nothing. I'll be fine. I just need to get some rest. That's all. It's been it's been a bit of a dreadful time.
How long has it been like that?
I don't know. A few weeks, perhaps. And you know he's lying. Like, just the state of his cough, the handkerchief, everything. You know it must be at least a few months. Like, it's very bad. He doesn't look as ill as he should look, but his tea's doing wonders. I just need to find new lodgings, that's all. Somewhere a little bit less damp. You can literally see the nitra hanging down from the ceiling in my place. It's quite something. Take too deep a breath and you get yourself a nice glass of water.
She's gonna set her tea down and lean forward with her hands out to him. All those times you came to watch me. You never asked me anything.
I daren't. I don't know what it is that you do, but it has to be a gift from God, and I'm not one who deserves such a gift to be squandered upon.
Nonsense. Do you see the people that come in me tents?
Trust me, those people are more deserving of it than I am. Well, perhaps not that brute tonight, but
I was going to say, that man, he wasn't quite deserving, was he?
well, I was deserving of something, but it would be very uncharitable of me to mention exactly what.
Come now, love. Touch my hands. Is there someone you want to speak with?
Yes, but I'm not certain he's dead.
Well then. Go on.
It's my son, you see. Well, his mother and I were... Well, we couldn't continue together, and we both felt that it would be better if our son came with me. And we were together for a while, and I tried my best, I really did, but so many things got in the way, and... Well, he took to the streets, and it's been quite some time since I've seen him. I very much fear that the worst has happened. His name is Emrys. I have something of his here, and he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out a doll.
I see. She's listening to him, but in the back of her mind, that heat that she felt radiate off of him, that warmth, she's obsessing over it. And as he's speaking, she's inching her hands closer and closer to his, almost as though she's just baiting him to touch her.
And you can tell that he's noticed. And it's like he's not pulling his hand away, but he's not moving it either. Like he seems really afraid to, to make the wrong move, kind of thing.
I don't need the doll, darling.
I'm just afraid of what I might find out. I've been a terrible father. The worst, really. I'm sorry. I'm taking up all your time. You're probably very tired and you want to get to bed. And as he says that, he just very friendly, like, places a hand on your hand. As soon as he does, you feel that heat again. It just radiates through you. And imagine that you've been parched, you haven't had water for like 3-4 days, and all of a sudden there is right in front of you this beautiful fountain of clear water that's just gushing and begging to be drunk.
As soon as he touches her, it's like she's suddenly become alive, like she's electric. And her eyes widen and she moves forward and she's going to touch his cheek and hold him in place. No, don't go, stay.
And without even realizing it, you've started reaching into that heat and that warmth, and you've started dragging it into you. You get a moment here to decide if you want to stop or not.
As I'm holding his face, I'm looking into his eyes, and normally this is something that I do to someone who deserves it, like the man in the tent. It's something that I don't seek to harm who I would feel are good people with. And with Percival, there's something gentle there, and I can see it in his eyes as I'm looking into him. And for a moment, I set aside my greed and I catch myself in what I'm doing, and I can feel that I'm just draining him, and I panic and I pull away.
As you do, you see him for the first time, and you see that you've drained a lot out of him. He's looking very frail and weakened already, and as you try to pull away, he grabs your hand and he pulls you close, and he pulls your entire body up to his, and he holds you really tight, and he says, "No, please do it. I don't deserve to be here, and you should take what you need. Please, I want you. I want you to have it. Take everything. Take everything. I beg you, please. Please take it. End this misery.
As he's doing this, she's pulling at his chest and she's pushing herself away. She's trying simultaneously to be careful because she knows she can be too strong sometimes for her own good, and Percival is quite weak due to what she's done to him, coupled with his sickness. And she's just saying, I can't. And she's just pushing back away from him.
And he says, you must, you have to. And he grabs you again and he pulls you close and he presses his lips on yours. And as he does, this flood of energy goes through you, but on top of that, you start seeing things, a jumbled mess of memories and images. You see fire raging all around you. You see a man with a dark blue beard leaning over you with knives and a saw and implements of torture, and you feel pain as he's cutting through you. And you see a woman come up behind him and hit him in the back of the head. You feel his blood hit your face, drip into your mouth. You see this woman drag you out. You see this woman having a child, your child, the two of you holding them together. You see all these flames surrounding you everywhere. You eventually sort of pull back from him because you feel that he's almost gone. He's got like an ounce of life left. And as you pull away from him, his skin has changed. It's become kind of this dark reddish color. You see he's got horns that are curling up over the top of his head. You see his face has changed. His eyes are silver. His face is long and thin. You feel heat radiating off his body. You know that what you're seeing is not physically him, but you're seeing him. And he's laying back and he's just begging you to do it. He says, I don't deserve to live. Please, take it. Take all of it.
Aunt, this isn't your fate. And he'll see a look of pity wash over her features as she's slowly backing away from him. I can't do this. It's not right.
He falls back on your bed and just sort of rolls back, and he's completely drained. He's very weak, barely breathing. Now you see him as you saw him earlier, just sort of normal Percival without all the other things. But just by looking at him, you can tell that heat, that energy that was in him is almost all gone, like a candle that's at the very last flickering, fluttering moment of its life.
I have to do something. Let us pray, gentlemen, death doesn't blow you out before I return. And she's gonna turn to move away from the room after drawing a few covers up over top of him to keep him warm.
As you're doing that, you've pulled the covers over him and he's kind of in a fitful sleep. You hear a dunk, dunk, dunk at the door.
I imagine there's probably not a peephole at the door, but maybe a window next to it that she can kind of peek through. I don't think she would necessarily be expecting anybody, so she's gonna kind of move over and pull a curtain aside slightly to look through.
When you look through, you see outside there is a carriage a handsome cab, 4 horses, black horses with silver buckles on their black leather reins. The cab itself is black and trimmed in dark purple. There's a symbol on the door. It looks like a red sun with like a 3-pronged fork in it. You remember seeing this symbol before. You saw it when you pursued your coin. As far as you could follow it, you had arrived at this metal foundry, this place called Blackfriar Metal Works. It was the name that was stamped or engraved in the hilt of the knife of the person who had killed you. You remember seeing this symbol there on the placard outside the door. You see someone's at the door, but you're having difficulty seeing. The driver's still sitting. The driver's well dressed with a black coat. He's got a, black derby hat pulled really low, his face in shadows.
She's going to approach the door and double check that the chain is on it before calling through the wood. Who's there?
Yes, I'm looking for Miss Eliza Doomore. It's a woman's voice. I've been told I'd find you at this address. I'm no trouble or anything. In fact, I would like to talk to you about hiring you.
She's not going to take the chain from the door, but she will crack it open. So the woman's kind of like looking at an eye through the open slit of the door. It's me. Who are you?
As you look outside through the crack of the door, you see a woman standing there, tall, elegant, obviously someone with a lot of money. She says, "My name is Lady Rowan Mars. I am hosting a soiree this weekend at my place, and, well, I've been told you speak with the dead, and I'm in need of your service." And as you look at this woman and see her standing there, you recognize the face that you saw 3 years ago. The person who came up behind you, armed with a knife, who cut your throat, who pushed your body in a canal, and who walked away without even a moment's hesitation. And on that bombshell, my friends, we will end tonight's session of the Devil's Orchard. What?
You're a right bastard, you are.
Moi? Moi?
Yeah, that's who that is.
That's you,
It
it.
is.
Thank you very much, my players. Let's go around the table. Tell people who you are, where they can find you, what you've been doing. I will remind them that we will be back next week for part 2 of The Devil's Orchard, a Penny Dreadful game with all these amazing people. So let's go back around the block, and we'll start with my favorite, Bones.
That's me.
That's you. Sup, Bones?
That's me. I'm the favorite. Hi, everybody. I'm Littlebones309. I'm an indie gamer here on Twitch. You can catch me playing a bunch of different TTRPGs all around the web with all my friends, including on Myriad's and Creeps channels. I'm Creeps Forever player. I'm stuck there. I can't leave. Somebody help. But this coming week we have just a normal schedule. Thankfully, October is over. That was a hell month for indie games because you're just trying to play all these fucking horror games. And so we're just back to doing normal Wishlist Wednesdays, AAA Saturdays, all that good stuff. And that's what I'm doing a bunch of.
That's fantastic, Bones. Thanks so much. You're so busy.
Yeah.
And yet you make time for me. I feel honored. I feel warm in my heart.
Yeah, well, you know, Monday I'll come to you for a favor on the day of my daughter's wedding.
On this, the day of my daughter's wedding.
She'll be there going, give me a pickle bleak. I see that Adrian is indeed in the chat and has just subscribed because that bombshell blew him away, seeing his old flame, Lady Rowan Mars, make an appearance. Thank you so much, Bones. Next up, well, since we are talking about Lady Rowan Mars and her many lovers, let's talk to Mornian. Mornian, you know, quite the reveal
I'm
there.
appalled and flabbergasted.
You almost choked.
Mm-hmm. I am Mornian. I am appalled and flabbergasted currently. How dare you do this to me, Blake? But you can find me pretty much in any one of these lovely people's chats, just being a general pain in their butt. Also, you can find me on Saturday mornings on the lovely Myriad channel, where I play a little asshole.
Just a little one, though, not a big one.
Just a little one. Go big asshole.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much, Mornian, for hanging out with us, being here, having fun, and wearing a shirt. I was and a tie. You had the bow tie and everything.
Yeah, I took it off as soon as we finished because I couldn't breathe.
Well, that's all right. That's what bow ties are supposed to do.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Next up, the goth librarian of your dreams, nightmares, whatever. The person who gets you the book and then beats you over the head with it, and you love it. Myriad.
Fun fact. I used to be a librarian.
Really? So you're well read.
Yeah, fun fact.
Nice.
Hi, guys. It's me, Myriad, or Miri. Whatever you want to call me is fine. Don't call me Myriad_X, though. That's my government name. You can catch me here on twitch.tv/Myriad_X, as well as over on TikTok. Same username, Myriad_X. We play a whole lot of games. We're currently going through Baldur's Gate 3 and Mass Effect. And I also started to build a house in The Sims that took far too long today. So we're going to try and finish that because God knows I need to finish a game. And I also have a homebrew D&D campaign that runs on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Pacific with Mornian and Bones as two of my players. So you can check that out tomorrow morning. And yeah.
And how is that D&D game going?
Oh, it's going really good. We're getting to a juicy part. It's gonna come up, and I can't wait to emotionally damage all of my players.
Well, you know, I softened them up for you tonight, so you finish them off tomorrow. And nice work on that pastel living room you were building today.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. The Pastel Queen. Speaking of pastel, someone who just would not be caught dead with pastel anywhere near her. And also someone who has probably my favorite power that anyone has ever had in one of my games. And we've not seen it yet, so no, it's not the leeching and it's not anything else. It's something else that hopefully will come up next game, because there's... Oh yeah, and it'll come up next game, get it? Creep.
I feel like I have an idea of what this power is. And I really can't wait to describe it thoroughly for you when it happens.
We'll just have to make sure that Mandy's not watching.
Or we do like a Clockwork Orange moment with her.
Oh.
It's fine. She's into it. I promise.
All fine.
Hi, I'm Darling Creepshow, and thanks for having me yet again over here on your channel, Bleak.
Mikasa Sukasa.
So I can, like, you know, have sexual fantasies about my friends. It's not awkward at all.
That's what I'm here for. Not for the sexual fantasy, but to facilitate the sexual fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm your dad, damn it.
God. That's what's wrong with me, everybody. In case you were wondering.
Amongst many things. Creep doesn't have issues. She has subscriptions.
I had such fun time playing a character that I don't think I would normally play. Like she's kind of like a nicer, young, oblivious, not so oblivious anymore to the horrors of the world, but like she's a sweeter character. It's kind of weird, a little soft spoken. I'm normally a loud asshole, so this is cool. Yeah, and tomorrow I'm gonna be playing Blade Runner with Bleak.
That's right.
And Eric Mona.
Ooh.
And Dave. That's gonna be so much fun. I can't wait.
El Crombo.
Can't wait.
We
Crombo.
We busted Crombo out of the mothballs.
Yeah. So I look forward to that. So I hope everyone who's in here comes over to Guild Superior tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and hangs out with us for the charity event and to potentially win one of my hand-painted miniatures. I don't know, kind of crazy.
It's the freakiest fucking hand-painted miniature I've ever seen.
Calm down. Don't be such a weenie. Do you want me to? Do you need to see it?
No.
Do you miss it? Do you miss it?
You can't force me to look. You can't force me to look. Oh God.
He's cute. What do you mean?
He's just a baby.
He's just a boy.
No.
Murder.
No.
What murder?
No. Thanks so much, Creep.